Okay, hello everybody. What would a podcast or interview show be without some intro music? So for now, we'll call this the intro music. Let the show begin. All right, Brad Schafer, how are you, sir?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's good to see you.
You as well. Been a minute.
It's been good reconnecting with you over the last, I would say, month and a half. Mm-hmm. Had a nice dinner last night.
Yeah.
Found out that you are now kicking ass on the mountain bike.
I don't know about kicking ass, but
well, the pictures were pretty badass. I mean, you got some pretty lofty air.
Well, I got, I'm not perfect, but they don't go down often. Went down a couple weeks ago, but it's fun, man. We're going to get you out there and give it a shot up there in Tampa. We got some great parks and rent bikes, but yeah, it's kind of a cross between motorcycles and bikes and whatever level of exercise you want is how you control the levels on the bike, man. I ride with some young guys, I ride with some old guys, right. But there's you find your mix out there. It's fun.
Are there any guys out there that are just total lunatics, just
there's a bunch
blasting big air and
bunch of lunatics out there? I went up to Rome, Georgia a couple weeks ago, and a couple of these guys that came up with Tampa, I didn't ride with them much, but man, these guys were 20, 30 foot gaps, and these guys are 40, 50 years old, and they're still, there's some crazy people. Beautiful thing is, I've ridden with NASA, scientists. I've ridden with parts guys. I've ridden with, there's one of my guys out there who does, woodworking. Like, you just get a complete variety of life and people, but they all have the same mutual love for biking and getting out there and getting some exercise and risking their lives every weekend. But
it's so cool because we are similar, if not almost identical vintage in terms of age. And so we grew up at a time, when as kids we were pretty free to do a lot of cool stuff. And I think it's great that men and women, particularly our age, are still going out and playing, right? Like doing stuff that you love doing when you're a kid and still doing it when you're an adult.
Yeah. My parents are not happy. They're going, what are you doing out there? But at the end of the day, I'm dressed up like a football guy, right? I've got a full helmet. I've got I didn't wear elbow pads the last time, but knee pads and chest protectors. So, I mean, you do the best you can, and they're pretty easy to ride, and they're safer than a normal bike because they're heavier, they're more stable, and the real challenge you have is a lot of time going uphill, and these things help you uphill. So anyway, it's fun. I've been trying to do that for a couple of years, and I like it. It's one of those things that's similar to skiing and things like that. It's kind of getting out into nature. So
it makes a difference. Well, it has been a while since we really connected, and we met 10 to 15 years ago, and we met through the retail automotive business. You've been a guy in the retail car business for many, many years, coming up through the service side of the business. We met on a really unique project for your family that I'm sure we'll touch on at some point in time. Yeah. But, I knew you back when you were the fixed ops director for JM Lexus. Is that correct?
Yep. There about 10 years or so, about 12 years actually at JM is where I was there, but spent most of my career there. I grew up the son of a Matco tool salesman, so I've been selling. So
that's how you got in.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Well, that was the introduction to the business, right?
Introduction to the business, and then I went to college and never thought I'd be in the car business, but somehow I ran out of money. I moved. I ran out of money. Had to get a job and got a job as a service advisor back in Daytona Beach at a Toyota store. And just never left the business. So it's a great industry, obviously, as you know, but it's been shit. I mean, what is it? I don't even want to say how long it's been, but it's been a few years at this point. Transitioned to some technology over the time, but just never left.
Well, you've had an interesting journey, and I didn't know the Matco Tools thing is pretty cool because I just remember as a kid, growing up, car business adjacent, if you will, right? Like there was the Matco truck. There was the Snap-on truck, right? Maybe there was one other. I don't know, but it was
Mac. I think there was Mac as well, like the cheaper version, right?
It was cool. They would roll up to the store, and basically it was like a tool truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
I was in rural Iowa, so we grew up on a farm. We weren't a generational farm since like 1865. I think it's like multiple generations, but my dad's sisters got the farmland. We got the actual farm. So we grew up on a farm, but we weren't farmers. And, had cows and stuff like that, I guess.
But how is that? You grow up on a farm and you're not farmers?
Well, we didn't own the land around the farm.
Okay.
Right? We owned the farm itself. So we'd rent out some of the farms. But I did farming for other people owned the property. But, so my dad got into a macro. So he was rural, right? So I would get on a truck in the summer and with my dad, and we'd go to shops, and I'd sell pocket knives to technicians. And, it's been a whole life of being around and in shops. And I think that's really a lot of where I have a lot of respect for the technicians, right? And technicians, just in the 30 years I've been in the business, they've always felt a little disrespected, and for the right reasons, right? They make the money, and they got a lot of people that are fresh into the business trying to tell these guys what to do and not listening to them and selling things that they aren't listening. So a lot of respect for the technicians. That's really kind of a driver for the technology stuff. I always start with I've had a conversation once with some guys at the Reynolds world, and they're like, hey, we're building some service drive stuff. Where do we talk to the service manager? I mean, where do you think we start? I said, no, you start with a porter. Right? You start with the people that are doing the jobs, and if you make their jobs easier with the tools that you provide, you're getting that important information all the way up to the top, right? The pictures, the notes, the things that these guys need to communicate to get the right parts and the right authority or the right authorization. So you really kind of start in the trenches and make their jobs easier, and then everything flows from that point forward. If you start with a service manager, the general manager of what you need for the shop, hey, I need the information about the used car, and they make the job difficult, right? These guys are going to push back and fight it and always try to revert back to the manual processes. So that's kind of the mentality of.
What would you say is like a core characteristic of an automotive technician?
I've said this. That's an interesting question. Family comes to mind first and foremost, right? A lot of times people think of technicians as these, dirty, in the shop, and it's just the opposite. That the car business is interesting, right? You've got your parts guys have a fit, right? Your general managers have a fit. Your used car managers have a type, but your technicians are, they specifically start with family, hardworking, highly, just good people as a whole. And obviously you have your bad ones in every mix, but as a core, they're driven from getting the job done, getting it done right, moving to the next job, and just not dealing with the BS all day long. And they've really been disrespected because they aren't consulted when it comes to the tools and the things that they're expected to use every day. So they've spent a lifetime of having some green new manager give them a tool that just makes their job more difficult. So every time a new tool is introduced, the red flags go up of like, oh, geez, how much is this going to cost me, quite honestly, versus, wow, how can this help me? And I get it, because that's the way they've been their whole life.
When I was, having grown up around the car business, I had spent a few summers working in the shop at a Volkswagen dealership in New Jersey, and I loved it, right? I found and at that time it was all men. The women in the service department were the service advisors, service writers, right? But the parts counter and the techs were all guys. And you're right, they were all family guys, they were all hardworking guys. I think people don't realize that it's a really great opportunity to make money. It's not it's not a low dollar job, especially if you're a really good tech and you can. I don't know if they still do, what was it called, flat rate, where basically like a job might, if a job in the book said it would take 2 hours, and you could successfully complete it in an hour, you got paid the 2 hours, right?
Yeah, just like a lawyer. I mean, that's how they get paid. They get everything. Chilton or Mitchell's, they look it up, and an alternator pays 1.2, and can't tell you how many times I'd have on the repair orders, you typically try to not put the labor hours in the labor, because people do the math, right? And they do the math and go, you're charging me $200 for something that took a half an hour to do. And it's tough to tell the customer, yeah, that's the tech I want working on my car, right?
Yes.
I don't want a guy that's takes 1.2 that took him 3 hours. Like that guy's trying to figure it out, right? I want the guy that goes to this box and pulls out the exact wrench and the exact part and can knock it out in half an hour. And those are the ones you want. If you can fill your shop with those guys, right? Just less people to manage, and the margins are better. It's you have one guy to paying benefits and health and managing it versus two guys, and it just makes more sense for a shop. But it's tough to find them. But
it's a good, hard working, honest job where you can make money and raise a family, and that's what I remember the guys were like. I worked next to a guy. His name was Udo. He was from Germany, and I mean he would turn. I think he turned like, I want to say 14 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah,
like clockwork.
Yeah, there was a guy at JM. I haven't been there for 8 years, so this is at least 10 years ago. That guy was making it like $250,000 a year 10 years ago. Like if you have a good head on your shoulders and you are a worker and you want to run a team, and I mean he took the Sunday shift. Nobody wanted him. He ran a big team on Sunday. Nobody wanted to work Sundays. It was a tougher team to find, but man, he did it. And he also turned a lot of hours, and had very few comebacks. I mean, that's part of the deal as well. I mean, if you get paid that 1.5 hours for that alternator, it comes back, you're fixing it for free. You're not getting paid again.
Right.
You can't go back to the customer. So, you can make some great money if you're motivated to the sport, but the other piece is, these guys, their bodies break down as well, right? You're over a hood. So there's a shelf life on a technician. And so that's the things you got to weigh as well. You can make a lot of money, right? A 20-year-old kid can make $150,000 out, the 18-year-old kid right out of. Then, you get 50 and, these things start to break down. So there's, then you
getting up in the morning starts to hurt.
Yeah. Good. So there's, that's the industry that we're in.
Well, you've had an interesting career trajectory, being that, starting off with your dad, right? Yeah. Getting exposed to the business, working your way through, the service side of the business, running a huge shop, right? Yeah. I mean, JM Lexus, for those that don't know, is one of, if not the largest Lexus store in the country. Yeah. Correct?
So
up in there.
While I was there, we're the largest Highline store in the world, I think is the way we marketed it, for 25 years in a row. Interesting. They made the conscious decision to give that up, and they said, we're no longer going to deal with brokers, right? We want to do a one price environment, and which is, it's weird how it hasn't all moved that way. I mean, one price is, said it's the way of the future for the last 20 years, and still not completely that way.
Not there yet.
But it needs to be. I mean, it really does need to be. I mean, transparency is, getting, AI and whether you want it or not, transparency is there now, right?
Right.
But yeah, we're the number one Highline store in the world for 25 years in a row, and they have since, I think they're 2-3 doing it as a one price. But all the kudos. That was what a great, what an amazing company JM Family is as a whole. I mean, I can't tell you how much I really enjoyed those years with that company, and they just take care of their people, and that was a good time. And I also got introduced to technology at the time. So, I mean, I'm not a developer. I can't write a line. Well, I can now. I'm actually a developer. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. I mean, AI has made me leveled the playing field for guys with IQs like me, right? So, but yeah, I got introduced to technology, right? It ultimately started, I was doing 3,000 invoices a month with a vendor, and the vendor was also a friend. He became a friend over that time. And, I think we went out for a beer one day, and we said, there's got to be a better way, right? How do we do it? And then my IT director, who's a friend of mine as well, we talked about him a little bit yesterday. We all sat down and we kind of started to figure out how to build some software, and how the story went. As I actually asked JM if they wanted to build it, and that's not their core business, but they allowed me to build it as a side gig, right? And,
right.
And it was going to improve the business, and I was very transparent about it, and it worked out okay. And we, shoestring budget. Me and my buddy put in some money, and we had Indian code, and we got a little system that was doing well. And so as that thing grew, my vendor started to use it there, and said, man, I went from a sweatshop of accounting people trying to deal with paper invoices to two people now, and so it helped, and they were able to. This vendor went from paper for the most part, right? Back in the day, they went from 8 to 10 to 8 to 12 to 8 to, for 20 years. They just couldn't grow because it was all manual paper, and ended up growing to like 40 stores within like about a year after using it was Clean Track at the time.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to just back up just a second, because the first one that you did was Clean Track, right?
Which detailing software,
detailing software that just helped the process of detailers interfacing with, at the time, your store, JM Lexus, right?
Sure. Yep.
Where before it was like, okay, paper invoices and just kind of an unorganized, slightly organized.
A secure request from us, a secure completion from them, created a invoicing and payroll information that the two needed. And then both accounting departments just went in and ran the reports and paid each other and knew what the receivables were. And it was a pretty simple concept. But as that product continued to grow in the market, we found that people were trying to use it for other things, which are more reconditioning things, right? Hey, I want it to go from the truck and I want to now complete it. And then I want it to drop into detail, and then I want it to go into it. So it was trying to create workflows. And at that point we started to grow, and it had a little money in the bank, and we said, let's just throw it in the trash and start over. Because at that point we, in developing things offshore and developing things in the US are completely different when it comes to a scalable model. And so we threw it in the trash. I partnered with a friend of mine.
So Clean Track, you just said,
kind of. We tried to. Some of our customers wouldn't get off of it, even though the next product could do what they needed to do. They were, it had a couple of features in there that were specifically vendor related. So we ended up selling that as well when we sold the Recon Track down the road. But yeah, it stayed actually it was going until like just about a year ago. Just a couple of customers were still on that thing.
Still using it.
Yeah, still using it.
So Clean Track was the demo version, right? And then Recon Track was we can do a better job with this. And that actually turned into a real deal.
Yeah, it turned into a real deal. Yep.
What was the difference between the two?
Well, scalable, mobile based as well. But it was really a workflow management system that you could, build it to suit. I mean, the used car reconditioning operations, there are no two of the same in the planet, right? Part of the challenge is when you go into install to a store that the manager signed the document, the dealerships all believe that they're completely unique. It won't work here. We're completely different, right? So has to be customizable. And it's interesting because this one every time you learn a little more as far as scalability and and onboarding and things like that. But it was really a workflow system, so you can control things like, hey, it can't leave this step until you take photos, or it needs documentation, or it needs to be able to go from detail to wheel repair at this location, and from that location it's wheel repair, then detail, then photos, then whatever. So it was a full-blown production management system. Which kind of leads into, I don't want to go there yet, but it kind of leads into what we have, because a lot of these steps are done by vendors.
Right.
The dealers want to do it all, but I think the numbers, and this is going to be not perfect, but it's over 50% of reconditioning on used cars are done by vendors. And you go, this dealer does 100%, that dealer does 92%. Like, how can it be that? Because you're dealing with a lot of small lots as well. You're doing auctions. You're doing a lot of, so over 50% of the repair on these used vehicles is done from vendors. So as Recon Track dropped into a step, these vendors would then say, I have to have my own system. It drops into detail. It's done by, Tough Seal or Dent Wizard or whatever. And so then they have to stop the process, go into the system, pull the job out of Recon Track, and then create a ticket in their system for payroll and invoicing purposes. So I'm sure we'll get there, but that it's kind of goes to the whole vision of what I'm building now, because I created and I say it was a team of us, Doug and Eric, and there was a group of us that really kind of put this thing together. But as this thing dropped into the vendor's piece, then they would have to create their own system, so their own ticket, because they needed so it stops the process. And I would say, hey, use the vendor piece in Recon Track, it'll create the ticket, it'll give you an invoice. All well and good, but every time I'd get back, I missed the main point of it works great, the prices are right, but I still need a ticket for myself for payroll and invoicing purposes that can then upload into the accounting, quick QuickBooks or NetSuite and things like that. So vendors are always going to need their own production management system, always, right? No matter how great the rapid recons or the Recon Tracks or the auction production systems, they're always going to need these other tools that are specifically for them.
So if I may back up just a touch, for the layperson that's listening or watching this, obviously we have a lot of friends in the retail car business that understand. But there's a lot of people that may not understand. So essentially, an automotive dealership, most people think of an automotive dealership as a place to buy cars and a place to service their car, right? And so in the service department, of course, you have technicians doing a lot of the majority of the work in terms of mechanical repair and warranty work. But what I think maybe a lot of people don't realize is that there are a lot of, services provided by the back end of the dealership that are not done by in-house employees. So that might be dent repair, that might be paint repair, detailing, any number of these, let's call them smaller support services that the dealership doesn't do in-house. And as a result, a dealership can find themselves working with Joe and Jose and Harry and, all these different smaller provider companies.
Right.
It's very difficult to manage the workflow process, and it's even more difficult to manage the paperwork interaction
and communication
with these guys. So that's essentially where you started, was with Clean Track, and then it became Recon Track to help create a technology-driven solution to manage these relationships, manage the workflow, and manage the invoicing and payment.
Correct. Yep. That's where it was. Trying to.
All right, we're done.
Yeah.
Which leads us to your newest iteration of this idea and concept, which is Turn Connect.
Right.
So let's dive in, shall we?
All right. That's trying to connect it all together, right?
Yes.
We're trying to connect the dealers and the vendors. So the dealers have, they were behind the times for forever, right? Dealers were always forgotten technology-wise forever, but in the last 10 years, there's been a huge boom in technology internally in the dealers, and now there's, there's a million recon tools, and the vendors are still way behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
These guys have, it's a lot of this is tribal knowledge. They maybe learned it from their dad or those, they've put the yellow slip in that box, and the blue slip goes in that box, and the other slip goes up to the, it's just the way they've done it forever, right? They've got full businesses. I mean, a lot of these guys are really good businessmen, but they're still kind of doing it manually in regards to how they do. They may use, there's some invoicing tool. There's some small production systems. A lot of these things were built 10, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just using the same tool. But they've got to clock in, they've got to clock out, they've got to create invoices, they've got to handle production management. So the vision is to be able to create, it's, what I've learned from Clean Track and what I learned from Recon Track. The biggest things I learned was from my mistakes, right? So,
of course.
So this has been quicker. It's been, with AI and with Claude and what we've been able to build, at this point, is pretty amazing. And so I'm building an operating system that's going to, regardless of integration, is going to be a game changer for for the vendors, whether it's a small dent guy that's just a single sole proprietor, or whether it's the largest in the space, which is the Dent Wizards and those guys. It's a one tool that's scalable and that can do their entire operation. However, we're building it with what I learned between the Clean Track and then the Recon Track, and then with Reynolds and requiring an integration into the DMS. Like, I've learned a lot about the mapping and the ability to integrate. And my CTO, he's a savant in regards to integration with like NetSuite and QuickBooks and all the integration. So this thing is built to integrate with production management systems. So as it drops into a particular bucket, it can then just immediately go right into the operating system that these vendors use, eliminating the need for these guys to have to go into dealers. And you'll get a lot of the IT and a lot of these big companies, the Hendricks and the AutoNations, they're very secure with their data. So to give a vendor a login and password into there's that problem as well. So everybody wins with Turn Connect, because we're connecting the dealers and the vendors together. It's not like one side is winning over the other. If you can connect these dealers and these vendors together through the communication, through the authorization, through photographs, through timestamps. I mean, everybody wins if they're using a modern solution starting from the vendor. Remember, we talked about start with the porter. We'll start with the vendor, right? These guys have been disrespected for many of years, right? The common thought process from a lot of these dealers, right? A lot of these big executive managers, like they're going to do it my way, whether they like it or whether they don't. And if they don't do it my way, I'll throw them out and I'll get somebody else. Well, I mean, help them do it your way by creating an operating system that is connected with what you're using on a daily basis. And that's been the vision with TurnConnect. And so it's exciting. I mean, I'm trying to connect that last piece of the automotive industry. Can you think of any other piece in auto that's still heavily paper based?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't think it exists.
No.
I mean, this is the last piece, and by connecting these guys together through the technology and the tools that are available today will make huge efficiencies. I mean, to talk a little bit about, I mean, it's really important right now because, used car inventory has been, brought back over the last few years with the pricing restrictions, the interest rates, the affordability, COVID really kind of set us into this thing that we're trying to get out of, and we're coming out of it, but there's still not enough used cars out there. So those that are acquiring these used cars have got to get these things to the front line quicker because, the margins are tighter, operational efficiencies are more important. Mm-hmm. And to be able to do that is going to help both dealer and vendor and get these cars to the front line faster. I mean, if I can walk up to a car and you've got the TurnConnect app as a used car manager and say, hey, there's a scratch, there's a dent, I can put it in a request. It can go into your inbox. You can see you have work. You can actually estimate it from a mile away or 10 miles away and say that's $100 dent. You can approve it. I mean, that's just, everybody wins. You're not texting, you're not emailing, you're not waiting for Steve to come on Tuesdays so you can talk to Steve and then,
because that's how it used to be. I mean,
still is.
Right.
That's
how I remember it even as well too.
Still is.
Your dent guy shows up once a week and he's like, what do you got? And out there and he's writing stuff down, gives you a slip of paper. You want to do this? Yeah, I'll do this one. No, I don't want to do that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I have a friend. He's a friend. I've known him for years and years, and he owns a business out of Tampa, and they do a lot of. They've been working this business since from him, and now it's his sons, and like having a conversation and trying to tell him about standing in line with a pad of paper and waiting for the used car manager to get done desking a deal. Like it's like, his thought is like, how much is it? Like, how much is it? Like, have you done the math on how much time you're wasting to do it the old way? And thinking like that, those are the ones that are going to get. Those are the ones that are in trouble because with technology now, there's just more efficient ways to do it. Not only from the production standpoint. I mean, a lot of these delays aren't from the repair. Right? These guys can do these repairs with their eyes closed. It's all the delays between inspecting the car, approving the car, maybe waiting for authorization, how much, I need a photo. I mean, that's really where most of the delays are with these vendors. And if you can put tools in their hands that can seamlessly integrate with their customers, I mean, everybody wins, including the technician, the accounting department, I mean, the dealers. I mean, it's just a better way to do business. So that's the vision.
So Warren's saying that TurnConnect now is in, I don't want to use the wrong term, but demo, like it's in testing phase right now.
We're live.
You're live.
We've landed. We've got our first big. We're implementing in a large. We're going, and it's exciting. And it's what's amazing is we're going, and my phone doesn't. Like we're installing in a few hundred locations and people, and like I'm not getting what I learned on the onboarding and, to be able to export data and clean up data on spreadsheets and import it back in. I could literally, this is what I did wrong with Recon, with the other tools is like, onboarding is not, not easy, not quick. It's a lot of time involved. It's a lot of setups involved. It's a lot of data entry involved. And what I learned was that's not good. The support you need to onboard customers and this tool is literally, I could onboard 100 dealerships, locations. We don't dealerships are not our customers. It's really
Right.
the vendors. They have locations where these guys go from Ford to Chevy to Dodge, and they're mobile, and or they're in-house in the back of the shop, or they're a mobile tech that goes from different customers. But I get on board 100 stores in a day. I mean, it's just carbon copy. You put in your services one time and your configurations and your workflows, and then you say, I'm moving to a new store. Boom, let's push a button and it duplicates it over. You make a couple adjustments, and your team is now, who has access to that store. Jimmy and Larry and Steve, boom, they're operating. So you learn a lot of things through the pain. I remember. So when we first landed a large account with Recon, I had the hotkeys like literally in my office, 4 different remote computers, and I'd go to bed, I'd hit the hotkey, and it's writing the inspections and like trying to and it would run all night, and in the morning it would maybe have some. So learned a lot, and it's you can fix a lot of that stuff from bad experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're rocking and rolling at this point in time, right?
We are.
How's the feedback so far from the users?
So far, so good. I mean, a lot of these guys, we're taking this industry from truly, the majority of these people in this industry are, they're not true mobile. These guys are, they may have an iPad at the manager's desk that they all have to walk over and log Mike out and log Jim in and take the iPad over to the car and scan the VIN and create a ticket and then move the iPad. And that's pretty common. Or it's paper, right? Then you have to transfer that stuff in. And, being able to provide mobility to these guys to be able to clock in. I mean, it was like, oh, they're not going to use it. How can they not use it? You have to clock into the system to get a job, to see what you're doing. I mean, it's right there. You come in, you clock in, there's your jobs, you push a button, you get the work you need to do, you complete it. Now you have your payroll information, you have your invoicing information. I mean, some of the big features that we've learned, I mean, one of the biggest pains in this world, in this industry is the invoicing problems. I mean, it's on both sides, both the dealers and the vendors, right? You give a $20 invoice for something that should be $15, right? It's $5, no big deal. It's not no big deal in the accounting department. Something's got to happen with that $5. So now it's like, hey, Chris, what do we do with the $5? Oh, let's write that off to policy. Now you have to, that's a conversation.
Right.
And you have to go into the system, and you have to go into the accounting office and do a journal entry I mean, it's a pain in the rear. So like our system is, what I learned from before is auto invoicing. So you as you set up these locations and as you customize these systems, when you complete that work, that invoice is immediate. And a huge issue as well, I mean, everybody can relate to this one, is that invoice for $500 comes in a week after the car was sold, right? And so the used car managers I'm not paying that bill. I already sold the car. I thought my cost was $20,000, and if I'd have known it was $25,000 or $20,500, I would have sold the car differently. You're paying for that. So then it becomes this conflict, and those conflicts boil over time, and finally those vendors get thrown out of the store, and they bring in somebody else, and that vendor, a lot of these vendors will bring in the superstar manager, all clean cut and shaking hands and wearing a suit and tie. Well, not a suit and tie, but they'll come in and do a great job, and then after they're established, that's their that's their person that goes to the next one. Hey, I'm here to set you. I'm your manager, and then so that my point to this is, they'll come and sell it up, and then they'll be dealing with the same problems again with the next vendor. It might be a month, it might be a year, it might be 2 years.
I don't think people that are not in the business, I don't think people would realize how complex just the accounting for the automotive business is, right? There's so many moving pieces in terms of the financial operation of a dealership. Yeah. And while there are generally accepted accounting principles that all stores are supposed to use, you just find you get in, it's surprising sometimes when you go, how did they miss that? Or how did this person not know that? Or why is this invoice been sitting here for 2-3 months? It hasn't been paid. Nobody's booked it to what it's supposed to go. It's a little chaotic back there. So what Turn Connect is able to do is really make that significantly easier.
Timestamp of everything, right? I mean, it's already in our short existence. Like, we've already had some people that have said, system problems are not me. And it's like, buddy, Tuesday at 2:12 and 15 seconds, you deleted that service. Like, what do you mean it's a system? Like, there you are. And when you have that, right, it's not like you're micromanaging people now, right? You get caught one time on, they know that everything that you do is time stamped.
It's accountability.
Bullshit stops, right? Bullshit. It kind of stops because now people are like, I can't get away with it. I'm not going to try. And therefore everybody just kind of does their job and they're kind of accountable because the system's doing its job in the background without having to make these technicians do more work just to, satisfy your requirements. So
I'm curious when you were riding around in the truck with your dad, right? And then as you moved into the service side of the business, did you ever as a child or along the way envision yourself as being an entrepreneur?
I just wanted to get off the farm, right? I mean, quite honestly, I wanted to get out of Iowa, and I just knew that, working, I was going to work my tail off so I didn't have to go back to rural Iowa. It was my main goal, right?
Right.
To make a living. And I don't know. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur. I guess I'm just an auto guy that's trying to create software to make jobs easier, right?
But I mean, from an outsider perspective, now you're in your third iteration of an idea and concept that you recognized that there was a need.
Yeah.
You worked with people to create a solution for that.
Yep.
The second at bat, Recon Track, sold.
Yep.
Right. And now you're building essentially version 3 at this point. I mean, that kind of fits the entrepreneur mold.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
I don't think that was the word I was going for, I guess is the point. I guess it ultimately is, but no, right. I didn't. I always, I kind of always thought I was going to go own or run car dealerships. And I just, I had opportunities to go take a step back, right, and go into the sales but for me it was more about the time and family, and
right.
I'm an early guy, so it fits me well. I'm able to get up at 5 a.m. and get to work by 6:37 or whatever it was, and get home by 5:30, 6 o'clock, and have have time with my kids and family at home. So that was more important for me. So that's really what I always thought I was going to do. And I just kind of was trying to solve a problem, quite honestly. And then I saw the light, like, hey, this is a good career as well. I mean, this is a great way to, my DNA is from a high volume retail stuff. I mean, I'm just wired to fix things all day long, right? See things that are broken, look at data that's broken, and fix things. And what better way to do it through technology? And I started to realize through my friends Dino and help with Doug Grimaldi and Eric Moen, and just a lot of people that have a lot of opinions on how to build stuff. And I realized that's the biggest way to affect positively these technicians, right? That I have a lot of respect for. Like if I can make their jobs easier, I'll tell you, we were installing into the Hendrick group for Recon Track, and what another amazing company and great people within that company. But we started, we were taking them off of another tool that was didn't make their jobs easier. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
And so it was really nice to be able to, make hundreds, really thousands of technicians' lives just easier, to put it in a mobile application to walk around the car and making them, write on a piece of paper and go back to the computer and enter that information in. So, I have had a friend of mine who's since passed away in COVID. His name is Joe Rice. God bless that guy. What an amazing guy. But he was a detailer. When I say detailer, he did paint restorations and essentially, a lot of the body shop and paint. And he came in one day and he's like, the best thing that about this system is, like, I can have breakfast with my daughter sometimes because now I can just look in the phone and go, oh, I don't have a lot of work today. I'm going to go in at 8:30 versus 6. That guy would come in every day and work. I mean, that guy was one of the hardest working humans I've ever. He would work from 6 until 8, 9 o'clock at night if there was work there. So, he's able to see, mobility, able to see your workload, able to see your payroll, able to see, clock in, do everything you need from your phone, and it gave him more time, more personal time, because he was able to be more efficient. So that's one of the things that stuck in my brain of like, wow, that was pretty cool.
I'd be curious. I think there's a lot of people that, look, and again, I realize that self-describing yourself as an entrepreneur maybe feels weird, because that's maybe not how you see it. That might be how some people see you. Certainly your life has changed as the result of this shift in career direction, right? You were a guy working at the store, doing
Grinding.
doing the grind at a dealership, which we know is a lot of hard work and it's a lot of fun because you're around a large group of people all the time and interacting, and it's an enjoyable experience. And all of us have been through COVID and sort of shifted our work style. As somebody such as yourself who was able to successfully build and sell a company, it puts you in a unique position to sort of step back and say, okay, what do I want to do next? Yeah. Which you are now in the process of clearly doing. What does that feel like, right? To go from the grind to being able to take a breath and say, okay, now what?
Yeah, it's an interesting roller coaster of emotions, quite honestly. Like the night the check hit the bank, like had a big dinner with my parents and in-laws, and like, it was euphoric to say life has changed and I never have to go back to retail ever again. I don't want to, right? And it wasn't crazy. I mean, it wasn't like that, but it was nice enough to be able to have a little change in life, right? And so I was really planning on, my kids were, like a freshman and sophomore, and like I was really planning on just taking a couple of years. I always thought that if I was able to, put a couple dollars in the bank, I could retire. I felt like my DNA was that I could go and get into mountain biking, which the day I left, when I had spent the time with Reynolds after the sale, and the day I left, on my way home, I bought the mountain bike, and that was the plan, was to go get into things like that. And I built some stuff at the house, got all the things done, did a lot of travel, and took the family. And that lasted about 6 months. And all of a sudden I felt like I was, life was passing me. I felt unfulfilled, quite honestly. I just couldn't, now I realize I'm never going to be able to just, retire, but it was great. But now I miss retail. I probably work harder than I've ever worked in my life. I mean, I spent the, the first year and a half really trying to spend time with my kids. And what I realized was my kids really don't want me around. My family, like, what the hell are you doing here, right? I mean, you've been
we're used to you being not here,
right? So I'm not wanted at home. I'm not working that much. I can only mountain bike so much, and so I said I got to get back into it. It was I feel felt a little unfulfilled in life. And the other piece is I kind of miss retail too. I really, really do miss retail. I don't know that I don't, not enough to go back to it.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of really great stuff about retail as well. I mean, customers that I met and the people, I don't see people as much, and, working, work home offices and stuff, like you start to feel a little isolated and like the world's passing you by. So
yeah, no, we were talking about that last night. It can be a little bit weird, here, that's my deal here. I'm usually here by myself, right? Which for the most part I like. You live on a large piece of property, kind of set back.
Almost. Hope you're downsizing soon. Kids are almost gone. So yeah.
But currently, right? Sometimes it's just you kicking around a lot of space during the day, going, okay, what do I do now? Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So when it's time for you, it's turn connect time, right? You're now gonna begin this process. Yeah. So what's the first step, right? You've had a success. You've had some time to enjoy it. You've had some time to process and realize, shit, I need to fucking do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where do you start?
You mean on the turn connect side?
Yeah. Like literally when you say, okay, it's time for me to do something, what's the first step that you take? Because I think a lot of people they think they know what to do, but then they don't do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one thing. I'm not good at a lot of stuff, but like, being not giving up and just got them. So it starts with really the my people, man. I mean, that's really what I can't do this. I'm not a developer. The Recon Track, it was absolutely a team. So I had to get the team together first, and I had to get the operating agreement together. I'm not a lawyer, but turns out I am a lawyer with ChatGPT. So it's like I was able to do a lot of things a lot more efficiently and quickly to put the pieces in place to get the business going. And this thing started completely different. I had a meeting in Tampa with 10, 12 people that I was, the people in the industry that are small, collaborators and the CTO and the CFO, like all these people are we started completely different of like how the direction we were going to go. I was going to start a detailing company to fund this thing. Right. So I'm like, easy money, right? I can create a detailing environment. So it's started there. talking about the technology we would build, because I needed an environment to build it in. And so that was really the plan, to start small, maybe buy a detailing company and start to do that. And so, after that meeting, basically I got out of that meeting, was like, nobody wanted to be in the detail business, right? So I needed, I was like, no, I don't, I like the technology side. So,
Right.
so it's had its twists and turns for sure. And just you start writing code, start, what does it need to do from a conceptual standpoint? You put all that together and you just keep going. And it's kind of where it's at right now. And now it's, I mean, I just need to be able to show people what we have right now. Like this thing is a game changer for these vendors. If they'll sit down and allow me to, a lot of times change is difficult, right? And understanding the yellow paper doesn't have to go in that box and the blue paper doesn't have to go in that. Like to sit down and really kind of have somebody, understand how this thing can change their business. Right now, it's just about getting this thing out to market and making sure that people know it exists. If they know it exists, I mean, this thing's going to have this thing's a juggernaut. Because, from what we've built, from the years I've had with the vendors, the working with the vendors, working with the dealers, working at Reynolds, understanding integration and understanding how it all needs to fit together. This thing will do okay.
That's exciting.
It is exciting,
right?
I'm very excited. I'm trying to really kind of started it here. Really, Clean Track really was a vendor tool. I mean, it really was. And so then we somehow got sidetracked and accidentally made a reconditioning tool for dealerships. So it kind of all works together, because now I understand the reconditioning workflows, and that's kind of our layer into the DMS, right? Eventually, being able to integrate with the systems that hold the work for the dealers and the auctions and the RV lots, and those systems hold the work, right? Being able to connect it all together will make an impact in the industry. And that's pretty cool. If I'm able to come from a Matco tool guy on a farm in Iowa to have a little hopefully a long-term change in the industry, would be pretty satisfying for me personally.
It's I'm pulling for you.
Thank you,
right?
sir.
And I, as a retail automotive adjacent or retail automotive person for pretty much my whole life, it's my favorite aspect of this business.
Yeah.
My dad used to always say it's a true meritocracy. I know that word as of, in society in recent years has been thought of negatively. I completely disagree with that. I think the retail automotive business provides the opportunity that those who are willing to enter in from any level to get to the top, or to get to a point where you're able to make an impact on the industry.
Yeah.
There's no impediment, right, other than
work ethic,
your own work ethic, the decisions that you make, of course. Yeah.
Ethics, right? There's a big one there too.
Yes.
There's a lot of people get in the car business and they try to take the easy way out. They lie to customers. They overpromise. They don't follow up. I mean, it's all about if you're able to, you really got to have three things, right? You got to have thick skin, right? You got to have a work ethic, and that's number one, right? I mean, really number one. If you're not a grinder, but you have to have work ethic. You have to be a grinder. You have to be honest. And the car business has its reputation for a reason, and those guys kind of ruin a lot of stuff out there as well. But if you can, work your butt off, and you're smart, and you're good with people, and you've got thick skin, and you can, you're not afraid. Here's a funny story. So I had a friend of mine, good friend of mine at the time. This is back when I used to hire friends and family. Don't do that anymore. But so a good friend of mine, I hired him as a service advisor, and he was building docks at the time, and it was a nice increase in pay for him, and he was great with people, and he was just killing it. And I think it was like 3 to 6 months. He walks into my office and he's like, I got to quit right now. I go, Shane, why do you quit? I mean, dude, I got 30 customers today. Like, you're doing a great job. I really need you. Like, you're going to have to hire and, interview. And it was really kind of can you give me a couple of weeks? He's like, if I walk back out to that service drive, He goes, I'm gonna punch that fucker in the face. He's like, I can't do it anymore. They're lying to me. He's like, I'm gonna it's like I can't. So it's certain DNA, right? It takes people that that have that thick skin.
It's a certain type in the car business, and I'm sure that there are people in every other industry that feel the same way about their industry, right? Yeah. That there's a certain type of people. There's just a certain type of person in the car business. It's a lot of big part personalities. People are very driven. A lot of wild, crazy individuals, and I've having been around it for such a long time, I enjoy the personalities in the business.
I love it.
There's no time that I go to a store. Let me rephrase that. There are very few times that I go to a dealership where you don't either meet with somebody or meet somebody that's a super interesting person. And it doesn't matter what they're doing in the store, right? It's characters.
Yep, they're there, and they're people person. You'll always have a conversation and learn about their life and whatever that looks like.
That's right.
It's interesting, and it's also, I said it before, but it's also interesting how there's molds for every position, right? Like you're gonna get the same guy when you go into the parts department. You're gonna get the same guy when you go into the shop. Typically, you're gonna get the same guy when you go up to see the G&M. It's like the same, personalities of a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys, I'm a little biased in this statement from a fixed ops career guy, right?
Right.
But those that make that transition over to the sales are typically the ones that kill it, right? They've got the understanding. I mean, fixed ops is complex, right? I mean, pay plans and flat rate and parts margins and labor, menu sales,
parts inventory, everything, like all that stuff.
Right. So but those guys that make the transition from fixed ops, high level fixed ops, into the retail side of the world, I mean, those guys are typically running dealer groups and running, they just get the whole piece.
And it's crazy. Now I would think of a question for you. It's because so many men and women who run dealerships most of them came through the sales side, right? Like a lot.
Yes.
Now you have a good handful that come through the fixed operations, right?
Few.
But it's so funny to watch them all make similar mistakes, right? Those of us in the business know that it's the service, it's fixed operations that really is the backbone and, quite frankly, the make or break of the profitability of the dealership.
Yeah.
Because a well-run service department, parts department can cover a significant amount of the overall store's operating expenses, right?
Yep.
Don't quote me on the percentages. You certainly know them better, what the benchmarks would be, but it can be significant, right? And that can make or break what the sales department is able to accomplish, right? I mean, if they've got to blow out a bunch of new vehicles to hit a number and not make a lot of gross, it's easier to do that when you have a fixed operation that's operating properly.
Yeah.
But we spend so much time focusing on marketing the sales operation and not as much time focused on marketing the service operation, where you retain more money per dollar. You have the opportunity to maintain your customer base through repeated visits to the dealership. You have a better opportunity to trade those people out of cars, and we still go crazy in the other direction.
That's why the fixed ops guys a lot of times run the best operations, right? Because they get all that. The most profitable stores on the planet are heavy into used cars, right? They have a 1-to-1 basis, one used to one new, right? Mm-hmm. So he's driving their trades coming in. They have a solid fixed operations. It's just all running in unison. And when you get all those pieces running in unison, man, you can print some money. But if you get one of those pieces that is substantially off, I was told one time at a 20 group meeting, and it makes a lot of sense. The department that causes the most chaos that's screwed up in your dealerships, what's the one department that you would think would be, if it's screwed up, would cause the most financial hardship?
I'd say the accounting department.
Parts, right? If you don't have a parts department and that thing's, you don't have the right inventory, you can't fix cars. If you can't fix cars, you're pissing people off. You're pissing people off. You can't sell cars, right? So it's really a well-run parts operation is kind of where a core piece of it all, but then it all kind of works together. And then you add the vendor piece of it in. I mean, that's the one last piece I'm trying to fix, is
right,
because that's where it all. Most of the biggest problems in the car dealerships is when it has to go from, when it doesn't follow the standard path, right? I mean, how many times have you been to a car dealership and you say, hey, can I get my car detailed? They really don't sell you details at a dealership, right?
No.
Why not? Why do you think that is? Because that service advisor now has to write a ticket, take it back to the vendor, get an invoice. That vendor, then do a half-assed job, maybe doesn't get the stain out of the seat, and now the customer's not mad, and guess what they do? They blow the service advisor away on a survey.
right.
And it takes a lot of their time dealing with something that, they made, but you get all this, you get it all together. And it's just for a very long period of time, a well-run dealership will be a well-run dealership, and it takes a very long time to build them right, and it takes a long time to break them down. Once it's built up correctly and you've got all the processes, but it's really the steps between your standard process, right? You gotta get hey, can you get me an estimate on that scratch, right? Service advisor, like, yeah, then they go drop the car off the body shop, and the body shop advisor forgets about the car, and the customer's calling, where's my car? And there's no communication, there's no tools that integrate the body shop and the service department together, or the vendors. So that's really a lot of the breakdown of car dealerships. So
Enter Turn Connect.
Trying. I mean, the last little piece that I believe is very much needed in our industry, right? Not only if it's never connected, they need it regardless, right? They've got multiple disconnected tools. They're using one for clocking in. They're using, they're using one for production management. They're using one to get the work, whether it's a whiteboard or whether it's a dealership tool. And then they're trying to push all that stuff. Then they have to export it all, clean it up, push it into NetSuite, push it into QuickBooks. Like, they've been doing this way forever, right? And it's just the way it works. And I believe there's an opportunity in 2026 with, people wonder, these vendors, everybody wonders how AI is going to change their business. Well, I believe I'm one of the first very modern AI built, AI. It's amazing the quality, the speed, the mobility that you can create using the modern tools that we have today. And most of these guys have been using the same stuff for 15 years. It's the same tool, right? And one thing I'll tell you about technology is you can't just clean up a turd, right? So if a system was built 10, 12 years ago, I mean, Clean Track, I mean, Recon Track, I mean, all these tools. I mean, the tool, there's a couple conglomerates out there that these guys have to use because there's no other options, right? They're built 15. You can't just say, I'm going to use AI and fix it, right? These things are built at the core. It's kind of like building a house. The way it was explained to me is like you need to understand the end vision, which is, from fixed ops, that's when brain always works, right? To start here and what's the end look like, right? And so you have to build it that way like building a house, right? You have to build the foundation, you have to build the walls, you have to build the plumbing, right? You don't just throw in a new kitchen where the living room used to be. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so that's why I believe we've got a competitive advantage over a lot of these legacy tools out there, because we've built it with the core mind of integration, accountability, communication. Every step is tracked, every department is tracked. I mean, these are things that just don't exist in the market today. They may, but they're using 5 different tools to get there, which is what pisses off the technicians, right? You have to make me clock in over there. You have to make me get this job out of that job. You have to make me use that iPad and walk over to this is 2026, man. It should be on your phone.
What does what's the end goal here? What does success look like for you with Turn Connect?
I mean, just like it was with Recon Track, I'm trying to build this production system to connect it all together. Obviously, I'm trying to build a business. I mean, let's not try to sugarcoat it. I'm trying to build a business, and hopefully someday I can make a couple bucks if I do. Right? It's been an expensive hobby so far, but we're there. I mean, it was way quicker and way cheaper to build it today than it was, back in the previous systems days. But the end result is to build a great company that I can be proud of. I'm proud of Recon Track. I'm going to be, those are the wins in life, is to be able to, you know, do things that you're proud of when you hang it up. And,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully, that's it. I mean, I don't know that and not be bored, right? I mean, I can't just sit there. Could you? I mean, could you go home and, you know, say today I'm going to watch TV all day and go ride my bike?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the biggest, well, you know, I'll speak for myself personally, and I think I'm speaking for you as well too. The thought of success being, okay, I've reached a certain age and I am now done working and now it's all leisure time.
Yeah.
That sounds miserable to me, because it just seems like that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Right? When you don't have a meaningful purpose of getting up every day and something that you're excited to do, you know, time just starts whittling away and you just start getting old. And I want to work. I want to work till I'm 85. I'm seriously, you know, if I can get to 85, and that doesn't mean at 84, I want to be like going like a maniac, but I still want to be, you know, as we discussed last night, I mean, I have young kids. I have a long trajectory that I would like to be able to continue to grow and develop my company and do the things that I love to do. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I want to stay busy. I want to have something to get up for every day.
Yeah. I've watched your career, man. You did good. You know, back on the personal stuff, like I knew your dad, man. Your dad was an amazing, he was a legend in this industry. And so you'd be proud of you. You've grown a great business, and it sounds like you've become a pretty good musician as well. Like I go around this studio, I think we've started putting numbers together, and it's big numbers on the equipment you have and you know, enjoying life. So
build my dream. You know, I was fortunate enough to be able to build my dream, right?
Yeah.
And and to be able to build a platform to be able to use for myself for many years to come, for my family for years to come, and for everybody that wants to be a part of it. Really, it's I look at it as something that will be that's been created for other people to use as well too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know,
Thanks,
another
man.
personal stuff. I mean, you were a big piece. My sister, I'm pretty close with my family, and we talk a little about Jordan, man. You were, you know, out of the goodness of your heart, you helped market a fundraiser for my niece with cancer, and had brain cancer, and went to her lungs and had almost no chance of survival, and didn't know what to do. My sister was in Iowa and I was here, and I put on a fundraiser, and you helped market it and build it. Really, I remember we went to our house and had our families and friends. We all had a big group, and we made. This has been 15 years ago now, and I think we made $65,000 for my niece off that fundraiser. I didn't know what I was doing. I just, you know, tried to put some raffles and we had a concert and we marketed all. And that was why I got on Facebook.
The courageous race.
The courageous race. And that young lady just graduated high school last year. She's a freshman at USF. She's pretty special. She is a tough young lady in life, man. She's had some, you know, obviously she's going to have challenges her whole life from the radiation, the chemo and stuff like that. In regards to, but man, she is a warrior. And, you know, I can't thank you enough for what you did. I mean, we didn't even know each other really. I forget how that came about. Was it
I do too.
Dad? How did we get to, I forget.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I couldn't even tell you, but I do.
Yeah.
I do remember the project, and I remember the event, and it's what brought us together. And what a beautiful thing to hear that, you know, that.
Yeah, my son and my niece graduated in the same high school and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. She's pretty special.
Oh, that's incredible, Brad. That feels like a good place that feels like a beautiful high note to end on.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank you for spending time. I wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
It's going to be awesome. I know you're going to succeed at this. So
giving it everything I got.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thank you.
You got it.